Hello everyone, this is going to be more of a special video. I know I was saying that I would review the Carlos Hyde trade, but since the trade deadline was only a week away, I figured just wait for all those trades to happen and then I will review all of them at once. So that's what this video is going to be on. It will be on all the trades from the trade deadline, and the first one will be Carlos Hyde just because it was the farthest away from now. And yeah, hope you enjoy this. And the first trade, as I said, is going to be the Carlos Hyde to the Jaguars trade. Now, Carlos Hyde will be playing his first game with the Jaguars this week, I think. I don't think he played last week. If he did, then I'm sorry about that. He didn't do much. I think this is a good trade for both teams. I like it for the Jaguars because, I don't know, like, it's always, like, good teams will have good running backs. I know they already have Fournette, and I know they have Yeldon, but the Jaguars have kind of giving up on him, I've heard. They don't really like him. They think he's a bust. And I think they have to use Carlos Hyde since they're now paying him like $15 million a year. And I think he's still a good running back, definitely above average. And as long as Leonard Fournette's out, I'd say he's going to get most of the carries. And for the Browns, this clears up their backfield for Nick Chubb, the rookie out of Georgia, and Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson has mostly been a disappointment this year, and I think he will continue to do that. Nick Chubb's fantasy value, though, definitely goes up. So if he's still available in your league, I would definitely suggest picking him up. He's a great talent, and I think he could do really good this week and for the future. And yeah, that's trade number one. Now, next up is Eli Apple to the New Orleans Saints. Now, I know the Saints were looking for a corner at the trade deadline. Most people thought it might be Patrick Peterson or a Raiders corner in Gareon Conley, but it turned out to be Eli Apple. Obviously, the Giants did not really like him. And the Saints really did want a corner. For the Saints side, I think this is a good trade. Adds depth at corner. Maybe he'll play alongside Marshawn Lattimore or maybe some slot corner. For the Giants side, I don't see why this is too bad. I don't see the Giants doing much winning so far this season and in the future, really, or at least in the soon future. They need to fix their problems. Biggest one probably being Eli Manning. Eli Apple had not been playing well. Maybe this helps his career get on the right path, just changing the team. And yeah, that's trade number two. And next up is Eli Apple's former teammate, Damon Harrison, or Snacks. Now, Damon Harrison, he was actually a pretty good player for the defense for the Giants, but obviously, as I just said, I don't see the Giants winning. I don't see them making the playoffs. I don't see them winning too much in the near future. And for the Lions, I think this is actually a pretty good trade. It helps their defense, and for the Lions trying to make a push to the playoffs. I do actually really like this trade. Damon Harrison is more of a veteran, so this shows that the Lions are definitely trying to win now and trying to push for those playoffs. And it shows for the Giants that they're trying to rebuild, sort of, kind of. Obviously, they have some very good young talent in Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham Jr., but also have some veterans in Eli Manning and Damon Harrison. So getting rid of him and his contract is definitely helpful for the Giants, and for the Lions, I think it helps their defense for sure. And he'll probably play a lot there. He'll end up being their starting nose tackle or D tackle. I don't know what formation the Lions play. And I think that's a great piece for Matt Patricia. And that is trade 3. And now on to the more arguably interesting trades. The first one, Amari Cooper to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I think a lot of people saw Amari Cooper being traded. Didn't fit really what John Gruden wanted. I think John Gruden wants to draft the players that he likes, so he was trying to get rid of some players that were already on the team, as we saw in Khalil Mack. For the Cowboys, this I think is an amazing trade. They badly needed a receiver, as Cole Beasley was their number one receiver, and we all know Cole Beasley is probably not a great number one receiver, more of a slot receiver. They get their number one receiver. Amari Cooper, I think, is a very good and talented receiver. I don't think he was in a great fit in Oakland, and I think this is a great trade for both teams. The Raiders trying to rebuild, John Gruden trying to get this team ready for the players that he likes and he wants. Fantasy-wise, I think this is a great trade for Cole Beasley and Amari Cooper. For Amari Cooper, he gets probably an upgraded at quarterback and a lot more freedom, I'd say. Like, he doesn't have to fight for a spot with Jordy Nelson, Martavis Bryant. Now, he's really the only outside receiver besides Michael Gallup, who has not really done amazing. And I think Martavis Bryant and Jordy Nelson's value both goes up, especially Jordy Nelson, who has shown that he still has it. I think his value definitely goes up, but I don't really love the Raiders' offense. And that's trade number 4. Now on to the trades that happened today, the final day of the trade deadline. And the first one will be Demaryius Thomas to the Houston Texans. Now, I think this is an amazing trade for both teams. For the Texans, I think this is amazing. He replaces the speedster Will Fuller, so now they'll have a receiver trio in DeAndre Hopkins, Demaryius Thomas, and Keke Coutee. Keke Coutee probably will end up playing in the slot, while Demaryius Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins play on the outsides. I think this is a great trade for Demaryius Thomas, too. He gets a much upgrade in quarterback, and he will not be facing any double teams any time soon with DeAndre Hopkins playing alongside him. So I think all 3 of those guys' values goes up. For DeAndre Hopkins, maybe less double teams now that they have to guard Demaryius Thomas also, and Keke Coutee. Obviously, he'll probably end up getting the 3rd best corner on the team, which means he will probably have an advantage. And for Deshaun Watson, especially, getting values goes up super high. Gets a great target in Demaryius Thomas. Very talented. I think that's a great trade for the Texans. Now for the Broncos, I know it is losing a guy that they really did love. Demaryius Thomas is a great receiver for them, especially with Peyton Manning. He really played well with him. But, I mean, they're trying... I don't know if they're trying to rebuild especially, but with the new receivers and Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton playing pretty well, and Emmanuel Sanders playing especially well, they just didn't really need Demaryius Thomas. He was struggling in Denver, and I think they just wanted a little change of scenery. I think it's actually a pretty good trade for the Broncos, just so they get to really see how good Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton are. So far, they have shown that they really are very talented and should deserve this spot. And we'll see this week playing against the Texans, so Demaryius Thomas will face off against his former team this week. Should be fun. Now, next up is Golden Tate to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I think this is another great trade for both teams. I'll start with the Eagles side, who will be receiving Golden Tate for not too much. Now, I think this is a great trade for the Eagles as a team, as they're trying to make a push for the playoffs, as they have really struggled early in the season. I think they get a really good target. I think he's a great receiver, especially in the slot. To have a trio of Alshon Jeffrey, Golden Tate, and Nelson Agholor, I think that's awesome. I think that will really help the Eagles as a team. But fantasy-wise, I don't know. Nelson Agholor's value definitely goes down, as he was playing mostly in the slot, but that's where really Golden Tate is, and I think he's better there. So Nelson Agholor will probably end up moving to the outside, and I don't know. When he played out there, he had not been very well or very good. Alshon Jeffrey, I think his value actually goes up now that he has to face less double teams and less main coverage on him, so they can focus on other receivers. I think this is a great trade for Carson Wentz now that he is 3 great receivers in Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, and Golden Tate. How Doug Peterson will use him, I do not know, but I think this is a great trade for the Eagles. Now for the Lions, I don't think this is that bad of a trade for them. I do think they're losing a great piece in Golden Tate, and he was such an exciting player for them, but it's not the worst thing in the world. First of all, they get to see how good Kenny Galladay really is. Now, they've been calling him Babytron because he has been playing a lot like Megatron lately, using his size and catching ability to his advantage. And Marvin Jones, a receiver that they did get last year, has been playing not great, not especially superstar, but without Golden Tate, maybe he does. Same with Kenny Galladay. They get to really see how good those two guys are. He was kind of a veteran. He was definitely a veteran player for them, and I think the Lions are trying to get a little bit younger with Kerryon Johnson and Kenny Galladay. I don't think this was that bad of a trade for either team. Yeah, should be exciting to see him in Philadelphia. Now, this might be the smallest trade of all the trades, but Ty Montgomery to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this was probably mostly because of the return that Ty Montgomery did last week against the Rams. Sorry, I forgot for a second. As he kickoff returned with 2 minutes left, Aaron Rodgers seemed for sure to drive down the field and beat the Rams' undefeated record. Yet he fumbled on the kickoff. Some complaints from the players that his character was just poor. I don't know. I don't know if any of it is true or not. This is mostly just a bad trade not a bad trade team-wise, but fantasy-wise, this is just a bad trade. Team-wise, I think this is a great trade for the Packers. They get rid of a player that they did not really like and they did not really use well. I thought they really get to free Aaron Jones finally. He was their most talented, most skilled running back on the team, yet they were really not giving him the chance to with so many running backs. But I think now they should definitely be giving him the opportunity to be the lead back and only back there. And for the Ravens, this is mostly a value trade. I think Buck Allen and Alex Collins' value both go down pretty badly. Buck Allen especially because he was mostly their third down back, but with Ty Montgomery mostly receiving back, that his value definitely goes down. Alex Collins a little bit less, but it's another mouth to feed in Baltimore as a running back. So it's mostly a team trade. I don't know how the Ravens will use him. Should be exciting to see Aaron Jones and exciting how Jim Harbaugh will use Ty Montgomery. Another kind of small trade, Terrell Pryor to the Bills. Now, this could be a very exciting trade, mostly because Terrell Pryor used to play quarterback in college, then when he transitioned to the NFL, realized that his best talents were as a receiver. Now, you could actually argue that Terrell Pryor, the receiver, is the best quarterback on the Bills without Josh Allen. Now, will they play him at quarterback? I do not know. Though, if Derek Anderson's injury is actually real, I could definitely see them playing some of it. Mostly because I think everyone in the world has now given up on Nathan Peterman's talents and mostly made him a joke. Derek Anderson, not exactly better. I just think he kind of gave up at the end. I don't think he was really that hurt. But maybe he was. I don't know. Terrell Pryor was a very good receiver. Or not very good, but I thought he was going to be really good last year. But so far, last year he didn't play well. Then got released, all this stuff. Now he was on the Jets. Now he's on the Bills. Pretty much just been on every bad team in the league. I don't know. We'll see how good he is on the Bills. He probably will get some looks as the receiving core for the Bills is pretty poor. Hopefully he'll play some quarterback just for some excitement, and I don't know. And for the Jets, I don't think they're losing that much with since they still have Robbie Anderson and all of their other receivers, Quincy and Nunwa, I don't think they lose him. I don't think they'll miss him that much. They didn't really use him that well. They don't need a quarterback as they have Sam Darnold and Josh McCown. I don't know. It'll be an exciting trade. Hopefully, it'll be exciting. Hopefully, the Bills will use him as a quarterback just for fun. Or not just for fun, because they need a quarterback badly. And we'll see how it goes. Next up is Dante Fowler Jr. to the Rams. Now, this is just a case of the rich getting richer. The Rams, obviously, undefeated at this time. Just getting a great pass rusher in Dante Fowler Jr. I think he's definitely a talented guy, but he just needs a good fit. I don't know if the Rams are that fit, but if they are, this is going to just make a scary defense even more scarier. Now, with Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donald, and now Dante Fowler Jr. I don't know. I'm assuming the Jaguars just didn't think he was a good fit, or just wasn't a great piece for their team. I mean, their defense is already stacked with Calais Campbell and all those guys. So it's not like it's a huge loss for the Jaguars, but I think this is a huge addition for the Rams. I think it's just going to make their pass rush even scarier and better. I mean, their pass rush will now contain, as I said, Ndamukong Suh, Aaron Donald, Dante Fowler, and Michael Brockers, who's been pretty good this year. So that's just an extremely scary defense. Hopefully, I really do like Dante Fowler Jr. I think he's a really good player. I think he'll do good in Los Angeles. The Jaguars pretty much gave him up for nothing, which kind of surprised me, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Now, next up is Clinton Dix to the Washington Redskins. Now, I think this is actually a pretty cool trade. Now, why I think that is because the Redskins have actually been really quietly one of the best defenses in the leagues. Not like sacks or interceptions or turnovers, but just like holding opponents, holding quarterbacks, which really surprisingly, because they don't exactly have the superstar names besides Josh Norman, and even him, he's kind of fallen off. So I think this is a great addition for the Redskins to their pretty good defense, surprisingly. He's a great player, great coverage player. He'll definitely play safety for them, maybe a little bit of corner too, since they don't really have a great player again across from Josh Norman. I think this is a great addition for the Redskins. Again, great defense. I think he should play pretty well over there. He just wasn't. I don't know. He played good for the Packers, but it wasn't I think he has more talent than what he showed in Green Bay. Now, I was very surprised that they didn't really give up too much for him. I think they gave up a fourth or a third or something like that. So that's very surprising since he was a former first-round pick. He hadn't been great recently, I have to say. He hadn't been playing great, but I think this is just a cool addition. Maybe he'll become better, or maybe he'll become a person that nobody really remembers. We'll have to see. Next up, I know this is not a trade, but I thought it was worth noting. Brandon Marshall was released by the Seahawks today. He has said that he wants to continue playing football and get on a roster. I definitely think his talent is worthy of being a roster spot, maybe on the Bills, Cowboys, Colts. Those are definitely teams that have a big receiver as a weakness. I think he's worthy of a roster spot for sure. He's definitely still talented. He's also a 6'4", 6'5" receiver. That's very helpful for a red zone target. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe he'll get signed instantly, or maybe we'll have to wait for a Dez Bryant type of thing where you have to wait a season. I definitely think he's worth a roster spot, and for the Seahawks, they've got guys that are ahead of him. They've got guys that are arguably better than him. Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin, David Moore, I think. He's been actually playing really well, and they've been giving him the minutes that Brandon Marshall maybe should have been getting. I don't know. You could argue about that. So they didn't really need a roster spot for like a 34-year-old wide receiver. I think other teams do, especially young teams who just could use a mentor. Yeah, maybe he'll get signed. Definitely don't, like, if you have him on your roster still for some reason, sorry, I'd definitely drop him until at least he gets signed. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Then that's it. Thank you for watching this video. Sorry about how long it is. I didn't realize how many trades there were until I actually made the video. Hopefully you like this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, comment any suggestions, hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted when I upload. And thank you. Bye.